Scarlett.
And I'm Echo.
And you're getting a bonus today.
Woo!
Bonus episode.
Well, today we're going to talk to you about some of our favorite horror movies and some of the quotes from them, I guess.
Well, it's not just horror movies. We went ahead and included anything that had zombies, vampires, anything that falls under that realm. I think we might have a couple musicals tossed in, but you know. So I guess we'll start at number 10. Do you want to start?
Sure, I can start. So for my number 10, I have the movie Little Evil. And if you don't know what that is, it is like a comedy version of like The Omen. And it came out in 2017. You can watch it on Netflix. It is hilarious, but also spooky. So the quote I picked, Gary, our main character, is talking to his buddy Al, and they're in the middle of a cornfield. And Al says, "Bro, you gotta relax, man." Gary says, "Relax. We're in the middle of a cornfield. What good thing has ever happened in a cornfield?"
That's such a fitting quote.
Oh, yeah.
For every horror movie that I've ever seen that has a cornfield.
Absolutely. And here in Indiana, we have a lot of cornfields.
Oh, yeah,
so
we do.
It feels very connected.
So, for my first quote tonight, I have one from good old Zombieland Double Tapped. You know, good old 2019 movie, the second Zombieland movie. And then this one, we have good old Tallahassee talking about another character. And he said, "I have nothing against pacifists. I just want to beat the shit out of them."
That's a pretty good line from that movie.
I couldn't help it. It had to be one of my choices. So I'll go with my number 9 next, and then I'll let you go. So we'll switch it up. Good old number 9 comes from another 2009 movie. However, this one was a remake. It is a Stephen King movie. We're going with Pet Sematary.
Okay.
The quote is, talking about the cemetery and the place beyond it. "Once you feel the power of the place, you make up the sweetest smelling reasons to go back. But I was wrong. Sometimes dead is better."
And that is so true.
This is one of the Stephen King movies that I actually, and I know it's up for debate, I actually like this version of the movie better than the original, because I kind of like the end better.
Yeah, the ending was like a lot more intense. Like, no one really survived in that one.
Nope.
And like, I just the thought of that entire family being zombified and roaming around that town.
And the whole thing, like when you went into the area, the cinematic were, in my opinion, perfect for that. I in no way have studied film, but I feel like the angles and everything they did to add to the kind of like ritual that they were doing to bring the cat and, you know, everything else back, it was just so well done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as soon as you saw that place, you knew nothing good was going to come of it, even if you didn't know what the movie was about.
If I'm remembering correctly, which I might not be because it's been a while since I watched the original Pet Sematary, I feel like the old place that they had for the Pet Sematary, the place where they did all the rituals and stuff, I don't feel like it looked as creepy
or as forgotten, because the one in this movie, you can tell that it has been forgotten, that people have not touched this land, that they knew something was there and they didn't want to mess with it for ages.
Are we ready to move on to my number 9?
Of course we are.
So my next quote is from Tucker and Dale versus Evil. As you can see, I kind of went with a lot of comedy horror films, but I really enjoy those the most.
That doesn't surprise me with you at all, because Echo's a writer. Yes. And anytime she is writing anything remotely spooky or that's supposed to be dark, there are little jokes hidden throughout it.
Can't help it. Like, I will never be a serious horror author, even though I just want to be so bad, but I just can't stop, like, joking. But anyway, the quote that I picked from Tucker and Dale versus Evil, it happens just after one of the college kids takes a nosedives straight into the wood chipper. And Tucker says to Dale, "What am I supposed to say, Dale? Oh, heidi ho, officer. We've had a doozy of a day. There we were, just minding our own business, just doing our chores around the house when kids started killing themselves all over my property." And Dale replies, "Yeah, just like that." And Tucker says, "They're never going to believe that." And Dale says, "But that's exactly what happened."
I've not seen that, but now I'm gonna have to. Like, you've already convinced me to watch it.
It is so funny. Like, okay, so you know how, like, the stereotypical horror film is all like, these college kids go camping in the woods and the crazy hillbillies try to kill them.
Yeah.
But this kind of is the opposite of that. It's like that, but opposite. So the main characters are Tucker and Dale, and they are these hillbilly redneck types. And I don't know, I think they're both really nice guys. Like, they're like, Tucker's kind of a dick, but like Dale is genuinely a sweet little boy. And they have just bought this old cabin in the woods to be Tucker's summer home, and Dale's going to help him fix it up. And they just so happen to run into these college kids that are going camping in the same woods that Tucker's new home is supposed to be in. And one of the college girls gets knocked out while they're swimming, and Dale goes and saves her. And so all the college kids think that their friend has been kidnapped and murdered by Tucker and Dale. And so they start going and trying to kill Tucker and Dale to avenge their friend, but they end up just killing themselves all over the place. And it is hilarious. So we'll move on to my number 8. Okay, so my number 8 comes from The House at the End of the Street from 2012. It's that Jennifer Lawrence movie. And I don't know, if you haven't seen that one, it's about this girl who moves to a new town with her newly divorced mom, and it just so happens that, like, the house next door to them at the end of the street is where a gruesome double homicide happened or something like that. And anyway, she ends up having a crush on the guy that lives there now. It was his family home, and I guess it was his sister that committed the murders and then disappeared. Have you not seen that one either?
No, I haven't.
Oh my goodness. Some of the things that I picked are new and some are old.
I have a feeling you'll get to some that I know, because if I know you,
yeah,
some of the end ones are probably stuff we've seen together.
Probably. But I think you would really like this one. You probably won't see the twist ending coming. The quote I picked from House at the End of the Street is from Ryan, the guy that lives in the house where the double homicide happened. And he says, "People don't notice all the secrets around them, even though they're right there in front of them, just hiding, waiting to be found."
I like that one.
Yeah, just thought it was, like, kind of striking.
I have one like that for number 6. That's just kind of, I think number 6 and number 5 are kind of more of the, like, striking kind of, could almost be in any movie kind of feel.
My number 7's a little deep too.
But I like that.
But you go on with your number 8.
My number 8. Okay. My number 8 comes from a movie that starred Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt.
Okay.
All
right.
I think you're putting it together in your head, from good old 1994, which is also a book written by Anne Rice, The Interview with a Vampire. And I kind of went with one, surprisingly, not from one of the main 2 characters. So we got Armand, a vampire as well. And he says, "The world changes. We do not. There lies the irony that finally kills us."
I do love Armand. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, while Antonio Banderas was filming this part, he still was learning English. And so a lot of the time he was just, like, saying what he was told to say and didn't necessarily understand all of what he was saying, if I'm remembering that correctly. I'm pretty sure I saw that in, like, a special features, but I could be remembering incorrectly.
So that wasn't the original quote that I was going to go for from that movie. But then when I started remembering things that caught me in the movie. I was like, oh, that one line. Because I was going to go from a line from the little girl vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was just like, I kept
from
reading.
Kirsten Dunst's character.
Yes. I kept reading through them and I was like, none of these really stuck with me. And then I was like, ooh, that one quote about the irony. And so I was like, Googling it. I wanted to make sure I had the right words. And I finally found it. And I was like, that is so poetic for a vampire movie. I was like, that one right there.
Oh, yeah.
So for my number 7, we go back to a vampire movie. However, this one is a comedy vampire movie. So we have Fright Night from 2011. And it's just one of those quotes that caught me. And I just couldn't let it go. And the quote is, that is a terrible vampire name. Jeremy? I love that.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the perfect time for that movie because it's when all of the vampire stuff, like the big vampire, like the Twilight and all that stuff had started.
Yeah, the Twilight series was starting and then, yep. It was a good time to, wasn't Fright Night, wasn't that one the remake?
Yes. It was the remake with David Tennant.
It was a good time. It was a good time to remake that whenever Twilight was real big.
Because we were in high school when the big Twilight stuff hit.
Yeah.
Mostly. And we had just gotten out of high school for the last, which, here's a funny story about the last movie real quick, which has nothing to do with the quotes, but me and Echo went to watch the last movie, and when we went, we hadn't had time to eat lunch yet, and we had stopped at Rally's because we were ultimately starving and could not wait. So we stuck our hamburger and our French fries into Echo's bag, and we walked into the movie theater, bought our tickets, sat down. Well, we bought our tickets and a drink, went and sat down, acted like nothing was going on, and then once the movie started to play and the lights went dim, she dug in her bag and got our French fries and our hamburgers back out. And we started eating our fries in like the first or second row of this movie theater. And then we hear the guy behind us go, do they have French fries? Where did they get those?
That was so funny. Oh my gosh. So my number 7 quote is from Mama, which came out in 2013. Have you seen that one?
We went together.
Oh my gosh.
And we took my mom. We took my mom.
Of course. Okay. But anyway, the quote that I picked is, a ghost is an emotion bent out of shape, condemned to repeat itself time and time again until it rights the wrong that was done.
You want to hear the craziest thing? That was my number 9 earlier. And I was like, something kept telling me, no, I need to find something else. No, I need to find something else. And it's a good thing I did because you stole it.
I'm sorry.
It's a good one though.
I just thought it was like, oh, for sure. Like, I just think it like just really kind of explains like remnant spirits.
I think it does. And I think that's why I was like really into that quote and I had it on here. And then I was like, oh man, something's telling me I need to change that one.
Then I have my number 6. Have you ever seen Ginger Snaps?
No, but if it's the quote I think you're gonna tell me, you used to say this all the time.
Probably. So Ginger Snaps came out in 2000 and it is a werewolf movie. And it's about these 2 sisters, and one night on their way home, one of them gets attacked by a werewolf. But anyway, Ginger is just starting to like get all these werewolf instincts. So she's sitting down to dinner, and her mom's cooked like, I think probably like fried chicken or something. And so she takes the bite, and then she throws it back down on the plate disgusted. And she says, I wish these were baby's legs. I don't know. It struck me as funny, and I don't know why. It always strikes me as funny.
Okay, so that's not the one you used to do. The one you used to say all the time was babies everywhere and not a bite to eat.
I don't know if that was from Ginger Snaps. That might have just been me being crazy.
That makes it even worse. Now I don't know if I should leave that in the podcast.
I remember saying that. I remember saying that. I thought that was just me being a weirdo.
I mean, okay. So my number 6 is from The Mist. Good old 2007. Another Stephen King one.
Okay, so not the limited series version.
No. This is the actual movie. This is the one that came out first.
Okay.
And so the quote is, as a species, we're fundamentally insane. Put more than 2 of us in a room, we pick sides and start dreaming up reasons to kill one another. Why do you think we invented politics and religion?
That is a very good quote.
If I'm remembering correctly, because it's been like 2 years since I've actually watched this movie, this quote comes about the time that the religious lady in the store starts saying that they need to sacrifice people.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I watch a YouTube group called Neebs Gaming, and Dick44 was actually he played a character in Under the Dome, the TV series.
Does he die?
I don't know, because it's been so long since I've watched that one, and I try not to watch that one a lot because it almost made this list for this very reason. The first time I started binge watching it, like the first go around I watched of it, there's a line, pink stars are falling in lines. And I started muttering that in my sleep for like 2 weeks.
I bet that freaked your family out.
It freaked everyone out, let me tell you. So I try to take that one in stride. So for number 5, so we're halfway through, I went with a movie that I first watched with Echo. And I'm pretty sure we watched it on VHS.
Okay.
Because even though when we were in high school, DVDs were a thing, Echo still had a lot of stuff on VHS. So this one comes...
I have so much on VHS.
From 1994, The Crow.
Love The Crow. Why didn't I think of that? It's legitimately a Halloween movie.
And it's it's one of your favorite quotes, but I didn't pick that one because I thought it would make your list. So I picked another one that I really liked from the movie, and it's childhood's over the moment you know you're going to die.
That is a really good one.
Yeah.
My favorite quote from that movie is, it can't rain all the time. That one's my favorite.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but he says this in regards to the girl. Like, he's saying that, once you realize in life you're going to die, then your childhood fundamentally just ends.
I'm pretty sure he does say that, talking to the young girl. It's been so long since I've watched that. I can't believe I haven't watched that in so long. I'm going to have to do that soon.
Coronavirus thing. You want to hit me with your number 5?
Yes. So my number 5 comes from a 1981 film called American Werewolf in London. Have you seen that one?
Yes. So you're good on this one. I've seen it.
Okay. So it is one of my absolute favorites. I think technically it also falls under the like comedy horror type of genre. So for anyone who hasn't seen it, it is about, well, technically it starts out with 2 guys. They're going backpacking across Europe. I believe they're obviously in England. They're going through the moors and they get attacked by a werewolf. The friend gets killed by the werewolf, but the main character survives, obviously, and he's doomed to become a werewolf. And he can see the spirit of his friend who died because of the curse of the werewolf. And his friend is telling him to like follow him, and so they go into a porno theater so they can have a conversation apparently about how the main character David should probably kill himself before he turns into a werewolf permanently. So David says to his buddy, I can't remember his buddy's name right now, but he says, "Look at me, sitting in a porno theater in Piccadilly Circus talking to a corpse." And that always is funny. Again, I don't know why. Just like the baby's legs line, it just strikes me as funny.
You always pick the weirdest stuff to hang on to from these movies, but you know what? That's why I keep you around.
I know.
You wouldn't be Echo if you didn't just break out in something random all the time. Like that one time in math class, I will never forget this moment because I was slightly concerned for a second. Echo just turns around, looks me deadpan in the face, and goes, "You know, if I become a serial killer, I think I will collect kneecaps." And then turned back around.
Yep.
And then later added on to it and told me she was going to make them into a statue. And I'm just like, where is this all coming from? Should I be concerned?
I can't believe you've never sat there and thought, if I was a serial killer, what trophy would I collect? Every serial killer has a trophy, though.
I mean, yes.
Like, it's just one of those games. People sit there and think all the time, what do I do if the zombie apocalypse happens? What's my plan? And so, like, it's just a thought game. And so it's like, kneecaps. But what I said was, I want to make them into a stack. And I want to draw sad faces on most of them. And there will be one happy face in the stack. And he has to find it.
Okay. A stack. I thought you told me a statue.
Yeah. No, like just a stack of, like a pile of kneecaps. And they have to go find the smiley face in the stack of kneecaps if they want me to confess to murder.
See, and I think that's why it caught me so off guard that I remembered the story wrong. In my shock, I probably did hear you were making a statue.
Maybe.
So would you like to grace us with your number 4? And hopefully it has nothing to do with legs or kneecaps, because I think you have a problem.
I might. You never know. So my number 4 is from Rocky Horror Picture Show from 1975. Okay, so there's just all kinds of goods in the movie, but my favorite bit is like right after Janet hooks up with Rocky and everybody comes in and Dr. Scott is just like, Janet! And Janet goes, Dr. Scott! And then Brad goes, Janet! And Janet goes, Brad! And then Dr. Frankenfurter goes, Rocky! And Rocky just, huh? So that's my quote, and it's my favorite. And again, it's just something that strikes me as funny.
I'm so glad you did that bit, because in my head, I was like, if that's not the bit she picked, I'm gonna bring it up afterwards just because it's so notable from that movie. But it's what you picked.
It's like easily my favorite part of the whole movie. I love the entire movie, but that's gonna be the bit that cracks me up the most.
I'm going funny for my number 4 too. We're going to the first Zombieland movie for this one because Zombieland's one of those things I've always watched with my sisters and my mom. So, of course, that came out in good old 2009. And it's another quote from Tallahassee because, you know, we got to stick with the theme of picking Tallahassee quotes.
He's easily my favorite character.
He makes those movies. His character makes those movies. So I almost went with the thank God for rednecks. Anyway, I almost went with that one, but I went with don't kill me with my own gun.
That one is my favorite line. Oh my God.
So number 3, we're going with something else that made me giggle.
Okay.
And I actually watched this movie with you, and I'm pretty sure you looked at me when I laughed. I laughed at this part and then rewound the movie to watch it again. And
okay.
Do it in the accent, just so you're aware.
Okay, I'm ready.
The movie comes from 2005, and it's The Skeleton Key, and the old lady, while crawling up the stairs, goes, Child, I believe you broke my legs.
Yep. That really is a funny line to me.
And I was just all like, I looked at you like, did she just say that? I lost it. It made the movie so much better than it already was.
Like, I don't know how she could just be so nonchalant about 2 broken legs.
It was like she didn't care. It was just so like, Child, I believe you broke my legs. And I was just like, I've heard a lot of things said in that tone of voice and that exact accent in my lifetime. And never has it been anything as dire as a broken leg or 2 broken legs, because she had 2.
Yeah, for sure. And they weren't even like just a little broken. They were very broken. Ooh. All right. Well, my number 3 is also from Interview with a Vampire. This is where we get into it. So my favorite line is like at the very, very end of the movie. Lestats jumped in this lady's car and taken over her car, and he just says, "Louis, Louis, still whining, Louis. Have you heard enough? I've had to listen to that for centuries." And I just love it. Just the whining. The way he says whining.
It made the end of the movie because of the delivery. And I don't want to spoil
Mm-hmm.
the movie because if you haven't seen it, you really should. And I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
throw
It
anybody
is
off
so
from
good.
seeing it. But I was just like, that was like the perfect ending.
Oh, yeah. And so then my number two is from a film called Hush that came out in 2016. You can watch that on Netflix too. Have you seen that one, Scarlett?
No, I haven't. But it's been recommended to
Okay.
me like a ton. So I'm probably going to get around to it.
I do think you'd like it. It is about I guess you'd say she's a young woman. She's an author and she is deaf. And so, um, like throughout the movie, you kind of infer that like she's had a messy breakup with her boyfriend. And so she's gone and rented a like cabin in the mountains type thing and to like get some peace and like try to work on her writing. And so she's out there and she's kind of made friends with like a neighbor down the road. And anyway, after she has a visit with this neighbor and the neighbor leaves, like she starts cleaning up from dinner, and all of a sudden the neighbor lady is back at the door and she's pounding on the door trying to get the main character's attention. Her name's Maddie, trying to get Maddie's attention, and she's been stabbed, and there's this psycho in a mask out there, and he realizes that Maddie is deaf, and he decides he's gonna fuck with her and he's gonna try to kill her. And anyway, so after having messed with her pretty much all night, she's injured him and she's dropped a crossbow bolt, and she's trying to get it back, and then he slams her fingers in her sliding door and breaks them, and then he lets her pull her hand back inside and get the door locked, and he's threatening to come in and get her, and she's pissed off at this point, and so she in her own blood writes on the window, "Do it, coward." And I just love that. I'm just like, oh, she's gonna get him. And it was so cool. You should see it because it is pretty good.
I
It definitely gives me huge anxiety because like I cannot imagine not being able to like hear somebody coming after you, but knowing that somebody is. Promise, it's a very good film. You should check it out.
probably will. So for
Oh
my
yeah.
number two, I went with 2016, good old Silent Hill.
All right.
And this is the part where she gets to the hospital like room with the nurse that's crying and won't look at her. The grungy, dark headed little girl crawls out and starts talking to her. The dream of this life must end, and so too must the dreamers within it. For 30 years, they have deemed their own fates. For 30 years, they've lied to their own souls. But now is the end of days, and I am the Reaper.
Definitely a very good intense line.
And it's being delivered by a girl that looks like she's 5.
Yeah, by a literal child.
I mean, it's one of those things where you're just all like, it's so beyond. Because she
Mhm.
talks about how she is the darkness. And
Mhm.
for all of the crazy that Silent Hill is up to this point, and then for the story to start like piecing itself together, because you watch
Yeah.
Silent Hill once and you're like, what did I watch? And then you watch it the
Yeah.
second time, and that's when you start getting your puzzle pieces. Because you can kind of get the puzzle pieces in the first one, then you watch it the second and the third time, and then you get the whole story.
Yeah.
And this part is when that story just starts kicking into overdrive, and you're like,
Mhm.
holy crap, what did I get into? Because it
Oh.
also has a bunch of flashbacks. It's just a beautiful piece of art. So that almost was my number one because I enjoy that a lot. But there is something about my number one that holds a special place in my heart. It is one of my favorite movie series, even though the second one is kind of a little bit shit.
Okay.
It is a 1987 movie.
All right.
About good old vampires. So
all
right. We're gonna take it back to the Lost Boys.
Woo!
I think I saw you piecing it together because you're like, okay, she really likes this movie. It's from 1978, vampires. And then I think it clicked for you. Yep. I have loved this movie since the first time I've watched it. I own this movie, and I own every movie that goes in this series. And I watch them a lot. Spoiler alert, I am going to ruin the end of this movie. Kind of. There's a lot in this movie to unpack. So basically, they are trying to get the vampire that turned everyone. They're trying to kill that specific vampire to turn 3 other people back into humans. And so they're going through all this stuff, and they think they've killed him. And one of them's getting ready to get Michael at the end. And then good old Grandpa drives his car through his own living room, stakes him through the heart.
Oh.
And Grandpa jumps out of that car, walks up, and just matter-of-factly says, one thing about living in Santa Carla, I could never stomach all the damn vampires. And then they laugh.
That really is so good. I mean, you just escaped a very threatening situation, and you just gotta laugh because you survived. So I get the laughing.
So the 2 main characters are brothers, and then they have their mom, and something happens where they have to move in with their grandpa. And so the younger brother believes in the vampires. The older brother gets tricked into becoming a vampire, basically. And the mother's not believing any of this. The younger brother is trying to turn his older brother back into a human. And he meets 2 boys at a good old comic store that are going to help him do this. And then Grandpa comes out with this line at the very end. Grandpa hasn't said much this whole entire movie, and this is the thing he comes out and says at the end. He knew the entire damn time that there were vampires, that there were actual vampires, and he didn't bother to warn anybody. And that's what it ends on. I was like, that is the best line to the end of a movie I think I've ever seen. It beat the interview with a vampire for me. Just the ending, because it was just so spot on point.
To me, though, honestly, that just seems like a granddad thing to do.
I mean, it does. I could see my grandpa delivering that line.
Oh, yeah. Your granddad would absolutely. All right. So my number one comes from a 2008 musical horror film. It's Repo the Genetic Opera. And this is one of those movies that is like so bad that it's good. I absolutely love it. The music, the whole thing is just, if you watch it, you'll see that it's one of those things that's so bad it's good. This quote that I picked, the main character, Shiloh, is just getting done singing about how she's mad at her dad for keeping her trapped in the house because she's got blood disease and she's just an angsty 16-year-old. And that her last line in her songs is, why oh why are my genetics such a bitch? And I'm pretty sure all of us have felt that way at one point or another in our lives.
I was like, when you said that, I was thinking of all the lines that you could have possibly came up with.
Oh, there's just so much.
There is. So I was like, is she gonna come out with something the grave robber says? Because that seemed like a very you thing to do. And I was like,
I mean, maybe the grave robber is my favorite character in the movie, but
well, and then I was like, no, it's probably Shiloh, because you had let me know that you had picked something from Repo, which was helpful, because I was like, maybe I should stay away from it then, because we have this knack for finding these weird musicals. I've got a question for you. This is it's kind of off topic. So, and I bring this up, let me give a little bit of backstory. I was thinking the other day about movies that technically aren't horror movies, but that scared me as a child. Like bits of them scared me. Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's one particular movie that I loved until this one part. And then I remember that part scared me. But to this day, I love that movie and I'll even watch that part now. But it's The Labyrinth with David Bowie. And it's those red creatures that pull their heads off. What are those?
The Fireys.
I don't like them.
I feel like I remember being slightly put off by them, but I enjoyed their song so much that I was able to get past it.
I didn't like any of it. Something about it just was like, nope, 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 nope.
Would they freak you out less if you knew that there were people in black silk suits? Or no, not silk, velvet, black velvet suits controlling them?
I mean, I know what it is now. I just, something about that part just like, I don't like it. I mean, now I can laugh at it because I know a lot of it was puppets and a lot of it was people in suits. But as a kid, and that's weird because out of all the things in that movie that could scare me, I loved everything but those red creatures.
For sure. There were a lot scarier looking goblins than the Fireys, but I get it.
But they weren't trying to yank people's heads off their shoulders.
That's true. They were not.
So, I hope we entertained you for this nice little bonus episode. Hopefully, we'll do more. Make sure you find us on Twitter at Strange Weird UN1 because our name is too long for Twitter. And on Instagram as Strange Weird Unforgettable. So we hope we'll see you on there. And this one mostly was a weird conversation, but we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.